Welcome to Bank on Her. I'm Mackenzie Conklin, and I teach you how to make confidence a strength in and out of your business so you can build self-made wealth and unrealistic success on your terms. I've gone from defeatingly low self-worth to a multiple six-figure entrepreneur by learning how to bank on myself, and I believe you can do it too. Listen to find out how. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bank on Her channel for day 3 of the Choose Yourself series. We are doing the series leading up to my free workshop on July 11th called Bank on Yourself, How to Hit Any Life or Business Goal Using Confidence, where we're going to be showing you the 3 elements that I have seen in myself and all of my clients that are really necessary anytime they surpass their biggest audacious goals, bigger, better, faster than they've ever imagined. And so every day of this series is going to be helping you and really covering a concept that will help you make the most out of that free workshop next Tuesday. So today, you're getting all on my take on comparison. And so let's just dive right in. So what I'm not going to sit here and do on this episode is act like comparison is ever going to go away, because it's not. I think comparison is a very natural human thing. It's always going to happen to varying degrees. And I just think it's part of being human. And I think it can be a healthy mechanism that we use. And I'm going to talk about that. And what I really want to talk about today is the 2 different types of comparisons that I see. And it's all very, like, this entire episode is all very much subjective based on my takes. And so I'm going to talk about the 2 kinds of comparison that I really see, the ultimate solution to comparison that has helped me so much in my journey. I used to compare so much. And then a couple quick fixes that you can use to get yourself out of comparison if you find yourself there. And so I just want to say in general, again, comparison it's very natural. I was actually with some young couples this weekend who are just about my age, who are married, they have a house, they have dogs. And so very naturally, I was comparing to what my life looks like compared to theirs, because I'm not part of a married couple. I don't own a house. I don't have a dog, etc. And so that, I think, I'll explain it more, but I think, again, there's healthy comparison, but there's also the comparison we use against ourselves. And so, for example, let's just start defining this episode with healthy comparison. So what I experienced this weekend, I think, is healthy comparison. It could have been unhealthy comparison, but what I was doing was really looking at them and just kind of assessing the differences. And what I did with that was I was considering, okay, what do I want and what don't I want? It helped me to do some self-exploration, see where I can maybe grow, things that I can strive towards, things that I don't want to strive towards. And it really just helped me look at myself more. And the thing in the definition that I'm going to actually give to healthy comparison for the sake of this episode is that it doesn't change our opinions of ourselves. And so if you're participating in healthy comparison, let's say that's just a part of human nature, it's not going to change the opinion or thoughts or feelings that you have about yourself. You are going to be able to compare and then maintain neutrality. So again, I was looking at these couples and I felt the exact same about myself. I didn't feel any different. I didn't think any different. Nothing was really different. It was just more of an assessment of, what do I think of their married life? And then looking at my life and thinking nothing different. So that is really what I'm going to define as healthy comparison, where you're comparing and it doesn't change the thoughts, opinions, feelings you have about yourself. You can maintain neutral, and it can even help you to grow. It can even help you to grow and do some self-exploration. That's my definition of healthy comparison. But what we're going to spend the majority of this episode talking about is the unhealthy comparison that can often get us into trouble. So I think unhealthy comparison is just when we use it against ourselves. So it's just when you are comparing and then you turn it on yourself. It's usually very shame-fueled. And so to me, for my journey, and I think this is really common for anyone, but I'll just say, for me personally, comparison is the number one biggest sign that I'm not believing in what I'm capable of. And so my definition that I work with on unhealthy comparison is usually that we're looking at what other people have because we don't think it's possible for us to create it. And so the way I usually handle comparison with my clients in the unhealthy, again, we're just talking about unhealthy comparison, is it's just a sign that you think you can't be or have or create what someone else has. And it can be in all areas of life, by the way. So if you're looking at someone else's life, someone else's relationship, their social life or friendships, their earning potential, their business, the timeline of their success is what I see a lot. Their looks, their body, their personality. And if you're looking at them and you're walking away with even an ounce less of neutrality, less happiness, less peace with yourself, that's unhealthy comparison in my mind. And again, you're usually, when you find yourself in unhealthy comparison, it's usually a sign that you are looking at what someone else has and thinking that you cannot have, create, or be what they have going on. And comparison can happen in so many different degrees. And so let's say the more intense form of unhealthy comparison, that it's more in your face, right? Is what you're going to hear is, I'll never be able to do that, or I'm never going to be as good as that person, or I don't think I'm going to be able to get to that level. I'm not going to be able to do it as well as her. I'm never going to be able to create that much that fast. That's the more extreme, I would say, side of unhealthy comparison. And those sentences kill momentum. There is nothing that is going to kill you getting towards your goals more than having thoughts like that. The more smaller degrees of unhealthy comparison that still really kill momentum is social media breeds comparison. And we all really know this, but it really, really does. And so the smaller degrees of unhealthy comparison that I'll see is that I'll work with a lot of clients who will be on social media, and they either look at someone or they see something and they walk away even just 1 degree less happy. And of course, like social media, you're just going to because it's a highlight reel, but they might see someone say one single sentence on social media and their brain goes to, well, I don't know if I can have that, or I don't know if I can do that. Or they see a reel and they're like, well, her life looks so great. Or someone will say they earned, X amount of dollars in this amount of time. And then they measure the gap of what they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm not doing that. And they start to feel less about themselves. And that's where unhealthy comparison really comes in, is when you feel less about yourself. Again, even 1 degree less about yourself, that's where it becomes a really big problem. And the thing is, especially as a female founder, trying to create your own path, oftentimes changing generational narratives and wealth patterns and deconditioning from stories that keep you small, all those things. Comparison is such a strong success deterrent. And I see so often that even when just these 1 little degrees of comparison happen, again, often on social media, it makes us almost like quietly start to give up. We start to think, well, I don't know if I can do that. And she did that so well, and I'm never going to look like her. And I would have to work my ass off to make that happen. And it just seems to happen so naturally for her. All little sentences like that, or rather thoughts like that, add up. It makes it that much harder for us to go faster, bigger, stronger towards what we want. Because again, when we're comparing like that, what I always tell my clients is that you're looking like that, you're looking at like that, you're thinking those thoughts as a result of seeing something, because part of you doesn't think that you can have or create what they have. Part of you doesn't think you can have that body that easily. Part of you doesn't think your relationship can be like that. Part of you doesn't think you can succeed that fast. Part of you doesn't think you'll ever be that outgoing and naturally charismatic. And that is just, it's so crushing, really, to think that. And like, trust me, I used to spend so much of my time comparing. I used to spend so much of my life comparing, especially when I was really young. I'd compare, and as someone who is introverted and shy, I'd see people in which I had their outgoing, likable personalities. Like I remember growing up with my mom, and I love my mom dearly. Everyone loves her, and she can make my brother too. My brother can make friends with the wall, and they can talk to people so easily. And I remember wishing that I could do that, right? I remember wishing I would be more popular and more likable. I'd compare to other people's bodies so often. This used to get me so much. I hit, this is like, it's not really TMI, but feels TMI for maybe a podcast and stranger listening. But I hit puberty so freaking early. So my body just looks so much different from everyone else's. And so I always wish I had a normal body. And like, I was very self-conscious about my hips growing up. I've got, like a wider set of hips, and now it's really great thanks to the Kardashians. But I was really, really self-aware, and I'd compare to other people's bodies and try and shrink mine. I'd compare to opportunities other people had. I just compared to so much. And again, it was only because I didn't think I was good enough to create what they had. I didn't think I was capable of creating what they had. And so for me, again, that's why comparison is the number one biggest sign that I'm not believing in myself. It's always the biggest sign that there's room for self-belief. And comparison, I think, just generally is so hard because it's so shame-fueled. And shame really feeds itself in silence. Shame grows in silence. And so if you're comparing, it really is part of you. It's a sign that part of you is saying, like, I don't think I'm good enough to have that or be that or do that. And that, of course, is shame. Shame is thinking we're not enough, and it grows in silence. And so we tend to just hide and pull back when we're comparing, which is the exact opposite of what we really need. And so again, let me tell you, here's the big solution that I found as someone who has spent so much of my time comparing and wishing I could be different and thinking that I couldn't have what others had and thinking I'd never be successful. And there was a time I never thought I would be an entrepreneur because I didn't think I had it in me. And so I'd compare to people who really had it figured out. And so let me tell you, the biggest solution I found, and especially if we're going with the definition of unhealthy comparison is just a sign you don't fully think you can create or have or be what someone else does, there's a really simple solution. It's self-belief. Because when you believe in yourself and when you believe you can create things, there's not unhealthy comparison left. There's not room for unhealthy comparison to exist. And I think especially, and I know a lot of my audience are female founders or people who want to start businesses. When you're running a business, especially when you're not in this corporate environment where how fast you go up the ladder is largely determined by, promotion timelines. And in entrepreneurship, you can go as fast as you want, which is so beautiful. But it also means it's so easy, again, especially with social media, to look at the fast, shiny, like crazy magnitude of other success and feel like you can't do it, to compare. And so I think especially what female founders need most of all is self-belief, because the comparison is just going to run rampant. And the solution is self-belief. And the thing that when I've talked to clients about this, they often have this fallacy that if they just had bigger success, or if they had the body they want, or if they had the personality, if they had the things they wanted, so basically they think if they change and they're more successful, they're more pretty, they're more skinny, they're more charismatic, whatever it is, then the comparison will go away. And it's such a fallacy. It genuinely doesn't. And so, for example, I had a multiple six-figure business my first year, and I was just as susceptible to comparison as anyone else. It's not success. It's not the body. It's not the personality. It's not the relationship. It's not that thing, whatever it is that you're comparing to, that makes comparison go away. Having it doesn't make comparison go away. Self-belief does. Self-belief makes you so in tune with who you are and what you bring to the table, and it makes you believe in your ability to create things that unhealthy comparison doesn't happen. You might have the healthy comparison. So for example, let me go back to the example I started with. That healthy comparison that I did where I was like, oh, okay, like let me look at what they have and look at hey, is that something that I want, and all of this. That was totally normal, human, healthy comparison. Where that would turn unhealthy is if I looked at them and I was like, there's no way I'll ever be able to get married. I'm not going to be able to have the house. I'm not going to be able to have the dog. I'm not going to be able to have the happy marriage. And then I walked away feeling less about myself. So if I was looking at them thinking, I can't have that, or I don't think I can have that, or, I don't make enough to have that, whatever it is, that's when it gets unhealthy, because I've turned it on myself. And so the only way to have only the healthy comparison is to have very high self-belief, to have like also a high self-trust that you're going to be able to figure it out. And so if you see someone, this is personally, I'm like struggling to even say it. I'm like feeling it in my body as I say it. As someone who used to spend so much time comparing because I never thought I was enough to have the things that I really wanted, to be able to look at people who have really beautiful lives that I would want and feel total neutrality towards it because I believe in my ability to create that. It's just so light. It feels so refreshing. It just feels very nice. It feels really amazing to be like, cool, that's amazing. Like, how can I grow in order to create that in my way? And just look at that and feel just as good about myself as I did before. I think that's just so powerful. And it's something that I didn't know I could have because I didn't have self-belief when I was younger. And so self-belief just makes you so focused on your own ability and makes it really rare for you to compare in an unhealthy manner. It's just, again, it's just so refreshing. I feel like my chest opening up. I just feel lighter. And I don't even know, you might not be able to tell, but the first half of this episode, it felt like very like heavy. And now I'm just feeling lighter talking about it. And it's because like, oh yeah, like self-belief is the solution there. That is the real full-time solution. And it's just having really beautiful thoughts about yourself and your ability to create what you want and to be able to become what you want instead of dropping into the thoughts of like, I'll never be able to have that. Or, she just achieved that so fast. She makes it look so easy. Taking a quick break so that you can hear from my clients. I love what I've created with my clients and what they've been able to do from our coaching, but I don't want you to just take my word for it. Here's what some of my clients have had to say while working together.
When I came to Mackenzie, I was so scared that I was going to have the same experience where this person promises all these things, and then you get inside and you feel almost invisible. That does not happen inside Unlimited. She remembers everything about you. She's obsessed with you and your vision individually, but also holistically. Like there's so many women that are going through the same thing where her advice applies to you and somebody else. And that's what I love the most because it cultivates such a beautiful sense of community that way. And it also allows you to find people that are struggling with the same thing that you are and build connections that way. And just really feel like you're being supported from all angles.
I want you to notice that even the examples that I just gave earlier in the episode, they just feel like normal thoughts a lot of the time. Like it's very easy to look at, again, if you go back to the part in the episode, or I'll just make it up right now again. If you look at a reel and you're like, wow, she's so put together, or wow, like that looks really nice. Like I wish I could travel like that. Even let's go with the example of she's so put together. Even if my thought is, wow, she looks like she has it so, like she's so put together, what with the energy that I'm bringing to this example and with the way I'm stating it in my tone, what I'm actually probably subconsciously thinking is, wow, she has it so put together. I have no idea how she does it. I could never be like that. She has this clean bathroom and she's so organized and she can afford all these nice products. And I don't even know how she made this reel. It's so incredible, right? Like there's this actual ongoing narrative underneath the surface that she has something that I can't figure out right now. And so comparison, it's so sneaky. It's so shame-fueled, and it's so hard to constantly exist with that. And again, you're going to constantly exist with it with social media if you don't have enough self-belief. And so self-belief truly takes like a 10,000 pound weight off your chest and just makes it so you can breathe again. It makes it so you can look at other people and have really beautiful thoughts about them too. It just makes unhealthy comparison, let me be clear, unhealthy comparison go away. And so now, again, it's really rare for me to compare in an unhealthy manner. And I think because I have such little unhealthy comparison, I don't have that success deterrent. I'm able to move really fast. Because again, like I told you guys, those thoughts kill momentum. And so because I don't compare as much, I don't have that deterrent, and I'm able to move really, really fast towards my goals and what I want because I see them in my own head. But if I see other people have them, I just keep having those beautiful thoughts about myself and I keep going just as fast. I don't get bogged down by the must be nice, or I don't think I can do it that fast, or by the doubt, by the shame, by the comparison. So it makes it so much lighter. This is such a huge thing that we work on in Unlimited, is building your audacious self-belief so you do not have the comparison anymore. So you don't have to feel slowed down, so that even if you have, again, so if you're someone who's like, oh yeah, if I have the success, if I have the fast success, if I have the personality, the body, the relationship, whatever, I won't compare. Again, you're still going to compare, and you'll earn it, and you'll find you're still just comparing and still just is honestly miserable. That sounds so harsh, but it's kind of true. So in Unlimited, we build true, deep, sustainable, long-lasting, audacious self-belief. So you find that you don't need to compare anymore. You just are so focused on yourself and your own ability to do this. And so again, the best solution is just audacious self-belief in yourself to make this go away. It's the full-time, full-force solution. And so definitely come join Unlimited if you feel like you're someone who you have resistance to your goals, or you get really caught up in comparison, or you don't think that you're enough to do it, or you question yourself, all of those things. Come join Unlimited. But I also want to share, because that's where we build the real long-lasting self-belief. But I also want to give you almost just like quick tips of how to kind of cut comparison cut it at the knees so it doesn't persist for you in the meantime if you're not quite ready to join Unlimited. But again, you should just join, because we're going to fix this really, really fast. My clients fix this stuff within the first 30 days and start feeling so much better, and then have 11 months to go so much further. But let me just give you the quick fix in the meantime. So when you find yourself comparing, there's 3 questions that I really like to ask myself, and that you can ask yourself too. And so again, I'm human. I still do have comparison. And so if I find myself comparing, the first question that I like to ask myself, it's like level 1 of comparison, of unhealthy comparison, is, do I even really want this? So the first question is, do I even really want this? And so oftentimes you might actually want what they have, right? But I find personally with myself, the few times when comparison does happen, every time I find I'm comparing to someone or something that I genuinely don't want. And so there was a month earlier this year where I noticed I was comparison coming up. And I remember my friend being like, what the hell is going on with you? Comparison is literally like the antithesis of who you are. What is happening? And I was like, oh, you're right. And so I noticed I was comparing to someone who was in their 40s with a business model that I really, really didn't want. And so I looked at, and you'll see that I go through the rest of these 3 questions, and you'll see why it makes sense. But I was like, I don't really want this life. And, I'm not even looking at the whole picture of she's got, 15 some years on me and all this, right? And so that was the first thing, is I was like, I don't even like her business model. Like, why am I comparing to this? And then I was also finding I was comparing to someone who was married and who had a life that not that I wouldn't want it, but I wouldn't want it at the age I was at. And so the comparison stopped the minute I checked those questions. I was like, oh, I'm comparing to something I don't even really want, like a business model, a life. And then I very much do want to be 40, but I'm not trying to like leapfrog to that place in life, right? And so it's more of like I'm comparing without the whole picture. And so the comparison really stopped the minute I asked that question, because I didn't want aspects of what they had. And I noticed, I was like, okay, if I'm comparing, what's actually happening? And I was like, oh, they had this like glow up moment of success. And I was like, that's actually what I'm looking at, because it was confusing for me to look at, again, a business model I didn't really want and someone who has a life that I didn't really want. And so I had to get curious and say, like, that's what I'm looking at, is like this minute of a glow up of success. That's what I'm comparing to. And then I had to ask myself, do I think I can create that? And the answer is yeah. Like, I sat and I was like, yeah, I definitely think I can create that. And so I have the self-belief to create that. So comparison solved. I haven't compared since I asked myself that next question. Right? So the first question I really want you to explore is, do I even want this? And if the answer is no, it's like, what are you looking at? And do you think you can create that? But if the answer is yes, I really do want this, then go to the next question, question 2 that I asked myself. And question 2 is, am I looking at the entire whole picture? So what I'm really asking is like, do I know every little aspect of this whole picture? Or am I looking at just part of the picture? And the answer is always, you should never even need to get to question 3, but because basically the answer is no. You never know someone's entire whole picture, almost never. Even if it's your best friend, it's probably really hard to have the entire whole picture of what they're going through and what they're dealing with and everything there. And sometimes you'll get to this question and get to this question because you're comparing also to a past version of yourself. And so it was right after my first year in business, I think going into my second year and part of my second year, where I was comparing so much to the salary that I used to have in corporate. And I was really trying to go towards like, I want to pay myself as much as I used to pay myself in corporate, or not pay myself, but get paid in corporate. And I was really putting myself through the ringer with that. I was really wanting to make that much. And I remember finally realizing I wasn't comparing to the whole picture. I was not comparing to the patriarchal environment that I was in, the boys club, the banking boys club that I used to work at. I wasn't comparing to the fact that I was so livid in corporate. I felt so capped. My earning potential felt capped. My potential to grow felt so capped. And that was a frustration that I dealt with since the first month in corporate. And I remembered that frustration coming back when I was thinking about if I was looking at the whole picture. I don't have to deal with the bosses anymore, the stupid political things I didn't like. I also wasn't comparing to how miserable I was. And as soon as I looked at the whole picture with the salary and all of that, I was like, I would choose entrepreneurship every single day. I would choose the biggest struggles that I have every single day just to not have to go back to that. And so I always think that if you're comparing, ask yourself, if I take this whole picture of what I know into consideration, am I still thinking it's so great over there? Am I really looking at the whole picture? And the answer is almost always no, right? And again, the only time that you could have the whole picture is really if you're comparing to a past version of yourself. That's the only time you'd ever have the whole picture. And so as soon as I realized like, oh, okay, would I trade? And it was like, no. And so that brings me to the last question. The third question to ask yourself when you find yourself comparing is, would I trade with them? Knowing the very little info I have, would I trade? I have never said yes to this question. And this is real self-belief. And if you find yourself saying yes, get your butt in Unlimited because we need to build your self-belief. But I have never answered yes to this question. If I have just a sliver of the picture of someone else's life, would I trade? And the answer, I want your answer to be no. I would never want to be anyone else. I wouldn't not want to choose anyone else's life, their path, their personalities, their trauma, their struggle. I don't know any of that and I don't want to choose it. I would choose myself. And this is what I want you to be able to come to. I would choose myself over and over and over and over and over again. And that's really high levels of self-belief, right? And but I find with my clients, they can often get there actually a lot faster than they think. But I want you, if you're comparing, I don't want you to look at anyone else's life and think that theirs is better. And they might have less struggle. They might be more privileged. They might have a lot of things that you want, but you don't know the whole picture. And so I want you to get your self-belief to a place where you're like, even with all the shittiness I have going on, all the struggles, all that I face, all that I'm up against, all that I've been through, I still want what I have because I believe in myself so much and I love myself that much. And I think that comes from truly not at all external circumstances, but just how much you love yourself, just how much you love being yourself, just how much you love spending time with yourself, with the things you go through with your brain, with how you move through the day. I want you to get to a place where you're like, knowing even if I want everything they have, even if I have so much of the whole picture, I still would choose to be myself. And that really does cut comparison, especially when you then tack on even higher levels of self-belief where you're like, yeah, I can look at what they have and I believe I can create that too. And so again, comparison is one of the biggest success deterrents I have seen in female founders. And I've worked with a lot of female founders. I've worked with I don't even know how many more, over 75. I've worked with nonprofit founders, private therapy practices, school founders, local businesses, media companies, firms, online businesses, content creators. Like I've just worked with so many different people. And the biggest thing across all female founders at all levels, all experience levels, all backgrounds, comparison tends to be really, really high up there. And again, the way that you can move so fast towards your goals is healing comparison, getting rid of the unhealthy comparison. And again, you can use those 3 questions. They're really great. But at the end of the day, the true solution, the true healing needed there is to build audacious self-belief. So I hope this episode on comparison really helped. And if you know that you're ready to build audacious self-belief and the skills for you to create unrealistic success on repeat, to hit any goal you want, to feel fully, fully confident in who you are and your capabilities and what you're able to create, and just have a very rich emotionally and financially life, I really think Unlimited is the spot for you. Unlimited is now a year-long program for female founders where we help you build that audacious self-belief and the skills to earn or create rather unrealistic success on repeat using the power of confidence. Again, a year long. It's just the most amazing community. We have a beautiful curriculum to help you out, and you have so much support, so much coaching. You have, and I'm not going to go into extensively, but we have 2 coaching calls per week. We have Slack coaching. We have workshops. We have the community. We have just so much for you there to be able to hit any single goal you want. And so we have limited spots. It's the last launch where the Unlimited will be $4,500 for a year. And so if you've known you wanted to be in this room, come join this round. This is the perfect time for you to join. And if you want to hear more about how you can hit any single life or business goal using confidence, come to my free workshop on July 11th in 5 days by the time this podcast comes out. And you'll be able to hear from my clients. You'll be able to learn 3 really big concepts because, again, this whole series is just leading up to helping you get the most out of that workshop. And I hope to see you there live. It's at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And those who come live will be able to win a week of one-to-one coaching with me, which is really, really exciting. There'll be multiple winners. And so hopefully this episode was helpful. I really, really want you to be able to walk away from this episode and walk away from just anything, any comparison, and think, yeah, I would never choose to be anyone else. I love myself relentlessly, because once you get there, you can build the self-belief needed to hit any single goal you want. So hopefully this was helpful. Come message me on Instagram if this was great for you, if you loved it, if you got something from this. I'd love to hear it. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Join me live for my free workshop, Bank on Yourself, How to Hit Any Life or Business Goal Using Confidence. We'll be showing you how to stop faking confidence, wishing you were further in business, playing small, and finally help you become the person who can hit any life or business goal using audacious self-belief. After the workshop, the doors to Unlimited will be opening. This is my signature program for female founders ready to build audacious self-belief and the skills to do 100K on repeat through confident marketing. The program now includes 12 months of coaching, curriculum, and community, and the doors open on July 11th through the 25th. Those who register for the webinar and join Unlimited before July 14th or within 40 hours of the workshop will receive a bonus intensive with me, and you can use the show notes to register for the workshop. I'll see you there.